welcome to all of you, and thank you for your ongoing support. I hope this finds you well, and we are all at home again, staying home, wearing our masks, which is so crucially important so that we can come back with the full orchestra to an audience just as soon as possible. Doug Hall, I would say, is one of the most enthusiastic San Diego Symphony supporters I know. And the orchestra is really his life. So we're happy to have him with us today. Doug, how are you?
How are you?
Just great.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for coming, everybody. I just want to do a quick introduction. It was our anniversary yesterday, and here is my best fan, Laura.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thank you. Very good.
Let's get out of here.
She's going to run away now. Anyway, my story really starts from the audition. I had taken an audition for the San Diego Symphony 4 times. Twice they didn't hire anybody. A third time they hired Ethan Dolsky. And when they hired me, it was really for second horn. And Warren Greff was the acting second horn, and he was 4th. So at the audition, there were 3 rounds, all in one day. And about 8:30 at night, there were 4 finalists, me, Warren, Keith Popejoy, and Ethan Dolsky. And there was this horrendous piece called Shostakovich Golden Age. And it went up to a high written C sharp. Well, we all missed it. And it was like fireworks. And the committee was in the balcony at the old Fox Theater, where we are now. And they yelled down, "Would you like to play that again?" And I look up and I said, "No." And they laughed. And so then they said, how about Shostakovich 5th? I can play that. And I played Shostakovich 5th. And it turned out they were very happy because they could move Warren over to 2nd, and they gave him tenure right away. And they could fill his vacated position, and they offered it to me. And I was so surprised because I thought I was done that they hired me. Well, then I had to go back to San Francisco, where I had been going to school and playing in the Freeway Philharmonic. And it was very lucky that I got tickets on the board at the conservatory for Mahler 1, Pittsburgh Symphony, Davies Symphony Hall. So I'm talking to my old roommate who is ushering at the conservatory. And I said, who should I take to this concert? And here comes Laura by herself walking in. And Mike goes, why don't you ask her? And so I asked her. And I said, how would you like to go see Pittsburgh? And of course she goes, who are they playing? And I was thinking it was a football game. And I said, they're playing at the Davies, meaning Davies Symphony Hall. Well, anyway, in 2 weeks, I took her to 11 concerts. And then I had to move to San Diego. We had a little long distance relationship up the coast and back. Finally, she moved down here, and the rest is history. So we had the Pop's potluck wedding. And the whole horn section were the best men, and my brother was my best man. And the whole brass section played out back, Hospitality Point. And Laura has a twin, identical twin, and she showed up too. We were very lucky that it was kind of short notice. Well, we had Valerie a year later. So we were very blessed. Pat Francis created a potluck for us. And so the order went that everybody ate first. Then we went out back, the brass section played, and we did the ceremony. And then I actually played the concert. They gave me a Just Married sash. And I played the Pop concert. It was a Broadway concert. And then fireworks. it was pretty crazy because Wes Brewstead gave me 10 tables of tickets. And so everybody, most of the musicians were at the wedding. And then everybody that came to town was able to have a seat and then fireworks. So how can you beat a wedding like that? But it was, and
The only reason I'm still here.
yeah, she still puts up with me. She's a great.
You didn't need a honeymoon.
That's
No,
right. We
no.
had 9 people on our floor. Just before coming to California, Leonard Bernstein brought me to California. I was building horns in Virginia with George McCracken, and I really missed playing. And my family's from Maryland, and we're right around the DC area. And about that time, I was still singing in the choir with my dad at Nashville Presbyterian. So believe it or not, I made a cassette tape at National Presbyterian audition tape, sent it to the LA Philharmonic Institute. And he hired me. I was one of the principal horn players for that summer. And so I got a couple little shots, and I just had no idea. We did a nationally broadcast from Royce Hall. It was a fantastic summer, and at the Hollywood Bowl. And I happened to be in the preview pictures. I sent a picture that black and white. It actually had Ya-Ya Ling in it. So, you know, musicians are so connected. I call them the conductor-ettes because they were all studying with Leonard Bernstein, and I was they said, does anybody want to drive the van? I said, yeah, I want to do it. So I was driving all these conductors to the bowl to study with Leonard Bernstein. And of course I played in the orchestra, but Ya-Ya Ling was then my music director at the San Francisco Conservatory when I got my master's. And he was also the youth orchestra and San Francisco Symphony assistant conductor. Well, it was an incredible summer, and I tell you that Raphael is right up there with Leonard Bernstein, in my opinion. He is so wonderful. I really can't wait to be working with him again. It's such a pleasure. I mean, the first things he says, I know Mitch has heard me say this already. It's like, very good, please, thank you, fantastico. How can you not like a guy like that? Okay.
I don't get any better.
Well, that's great, Doug. And I think that there was a hornswoggle that Raphael was part of, not playing, but just in the last couple of days. Is that right?
Yes, we interviewed him on Thursday. It was really great. And we started by having the players introduce themselves to him. And that was really great. And the Star Trek was our second project. We had 40 horns, 2 tubas, and you saw Greg Cohen did the percussion. And a wonderful young lady, Liesl Hansen, is the middle school band director at La Jolla Country Day School. And she has really blossomed into a wonderful conductor. Now, before Liesl, it was our principal horn emeritus, John Lorgy, was our conductor. And I would just be in the background running things with emails and all that kind of stuff. So we miss John terribly, but we've been having quite a bit of talent. Even Jerry Folsom, who's retired from the LA Philharmonic, is back in San Diego, and he's been conducting and doing our next project called Independence Day. So if you don't have an idea of how we do this, we basically have to have 2 things. We make a click track, and we use sound, sometimes MIDI. So it's going click, 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 ba, 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 ba. Anyway, you're listening in one, and then you're playing to another. And so now we're actually doing the audio separate. So I have a little microphone on the top of this phone here. It's a Shure microphone, and we are trying to get better sound on the next one. Before, we actually videotaped, and then we have an editor, Kenan, who's in San Diego State, and he's a member of Hornswoggle. So he actually edited and played, and then Liesl conducted and played. So you can do more than one thing when you do these recordings, but the editing is very difficult. So you line everything up and then put it together. Very tricky.
So Doug, we have a lot of questions today from people. So I'm going to lead off here. One is, different horn players play in different registers. There's high horn and low horn. And the person writing the question wants to know, how is it decided? You know, what position plays high, what position plays low?
Well, traditionally, Brahms, before Brahms, you had natural horns. So you had natural horns, and this one is in the key of F. And this is a core solo, and you would have two playing at a time. And because you'd have two in one key and two in another key. So Brahms would write, first and second horn as a duet, and third and fourth as a duet. And one would be like an E flat, and the other one would be in D. And that's the traditional way of having a horn section, is first and third are high, second and fourth are low. Now, when you, so most of the time the first horn plays the solos. And the second is the harmony person. And I feel like their part is the most difficult. Then the third is another high horn, and sometimes they have solos. And then the fourth is like the bass horn player. So you're mostly playing roots, fifths, a little bit, but you're trying to support the whole section with solid pitch.
Excellent, excellent explanation. The other question was, you've already started to answer, which is the natural horn that you just held up. And have you ever had the opportunity to play that in the San Diego Symphony?
Just in demonstration. This is the first horn that I made when I was working in the shop in Virginia, George McCracken's shop. This is a copy of a French Raoult horn. And because it has a fixed lead pipe here, it's called a core solo. So you play the Mozart horn concertos on this horn. But the hand technique, it has a smaller bell, and the hand technique of opening and closing, you can alter the pitch. Now, I don't practice that much, so there are some people that can really play the natural horn beautifully, but luckily, it's not me. I've built a couple of horns. Here is the picture. A number of years later, after being in the San Diego Symphony at least 25 years, we reacquainted with George McCracken in Virginia. He's in his late 80s now, but 8 years ago, I feel like he needed some help. And so I had been in his shop in the 90s, and he had made a horn like, this is David Ohanian's horn, and it has a piston in the middle. Now, the original, so George had converted this horn for David. David Ohanian was in the Boston Symphony and the Canadian Brass. And the Schmidt used to have a piston here right under your thumb, and it was very awkward, but it played really well. So the piston allows you to have a very smooth transition between the two horns, F and B flat. Well, I had played that horn in the 90s and been inspired to make one. And so George drew up this, drafted the first rendition. This horn is a large bell here in the throat. This is the first one that I made, and it has the piston in the middle. And it plays beautifully, but the original plan was to build a large bell horn and a medium bell horn. So when you change the thumb, there's no bump on your chops. So it achieved what I wanted. It gave a very liquidy change between the two horns. And then,
Doug, how many horns do you have?
a lot. I mean, I made 3 of these. I sold one. This is the medium bell horn. You can see it's a little smaller. So, gosh, I have to count because I've loaned out a few of my horns. I have a descant that's in Texas. My triple horn is in George's shop because he's building triples. That means a double horn plus another stack, another stack of tubing for a high horn, what we call a descant horn. If you go on the website that we made for George, McCrackenhorns.com, you can see many, many horns that he's built.
So do you use a different instrument, I suppose, for different pieces? So what are your favorite works to play with the orchestra, and what horn would you, for instance, what horn would you use?
Well, our section, I'm trying to match the section, so I'm really using the medium bell horn. It's a little brighter. Sorry, that's over Zoom, it's not so great. But so I'm trying to match the section. I use the medium bell horn, but I get a lot of zing out of it, and it's very quick. The other thing I was doing when I was building is that there are bells that you call this a crons, and it's kind of heavy. And I did try this, and I found that it was too slow in the response. And the bell that I have has no crons. I found that the non-crons is a better, quicker response for our hall, because our hall is very boomy. And you really want as much clarity as you can get. So that's why I use this horn. Now, normally, if Ben wants to play a big bell horn, then I'll use that one. So I probably would go back and forth between these two. Another horn is this is really the first double horn. And this was made in 1929 by the Crispy Company out of Germany. And this one is a kind of a medium bell horn, brass. And it's a very nice little instrument, but it's almost worn out. So I don't play it, but it's kind of history so that I can show people when I talk about all the different horns and the design. This was pretty much brought over, this design horn was brought over by the Philadelphia horn, James Horner. No, is that right? No. Well, I've forgotten the right name, but it was Horner. And I got the movie composer mixed up. So I didn't mean James Horner, another horn. But he brought over this horn that the Crispy Company made for him. And then the Philadelphia Orchestra pretty much played Crispies that are this design. And then Kahn started making the 8D, which was really my first double horn, which is nickel silver. We used really 3 metals. You use red brass, which is very red. I don't have any red brass with me right now. You use yellow brass. That's pretty much, most of my horns are yellow brass. It just seems to have a nice color. You can change the color with it quite a bit. And then you have nickel silver, which is 5% nickel in the metal. And it's quite a bit harder. You can see in this Kranz, this is nickel silver. And the bell is yellow brass. The other things that we use is bronze, like on this bronze screw ring. And we use bronze in the rotors, the valves. And usually nickel silver is a very good bearing material. So you get very quick valves with 2 different kinds of metal. The bronze against the nickel silver work really well. You can see, let's see, right in here is nickel silver casing and slide tubes. And then the inside of the valves, these are bronze. Let me take it apart on the camera, okay? Okay. There we go. So you can see that that's bronze. The other interesting thing is that we laser cut these valve levers. They're stainless steel. Since we were building this, we experimented with a couple of different metals, and the stainless steel, normally the levers are nickel silver, but we thought the stainless steel would be a little bit lighter, so we had them, designed them, and then had them laser cut and then silver side them together. There are a lot of little special details that we did. And also, we made mistakes. So at one point, I was there for a week, and I made hollow valves. And then after I made the hollow valves and soldered them all together and put them in the lathe and was cutting them down, they fell apart. It was a whole week of work became scrap. That's a very hard lesson.
So you said,
I just wanted you to know I was there for that when they did the valves wrong. I wanted to wring his neck.
Thank you.
so you said film composer, and I just have one last question. John Williams loves to write for horn.
He's the best.
Scores, and you've had the opportunity to work with him a couple of times. You want to just say a couple sentences about that, and then we have more music.
Oh, good. Okay. John Williams is just so sweet. You know, he's also really good about saying that the orchestra he's with is the best one. I saw him conducting Vienna, and he was just tickled. But he really, Mary Santo made him cake. Oh man. And we had a great visit with him. And it was just, you know, one of your life's special memories. And of course the orchestra played beautifully for him, and man, and wonderful music for the horn.
Yeah, those were special evenings. Thank you for this.